Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Payment Runner Best Practice webinar. My name is Andrew Fink, and I'm the Customer Service Manager at PS Financials. So I'm just going to spend the next kind of 25 minutes, half hour or so, taking you through how to run a BACS run in PS Financials, the different options they have, and kind of the best practices that PSF recommends. Now, the system I'm going to be using is a V6 system. So I will explain as we go through if there are any differences between version 2 or version 4, etc. But pretty much they're all pretty much the same across all platforms. So the first thing we're going to do when we're going to create our BACS run is to choose, basically set up the reference or the code for the BACS run. So under your options menu, 3/4 of the way down the list, you have payments down here, and this is where we're going to start off our webinar today. You can also use the shortcut icon on the toolbar by clicking on the little stack of gold coins at the top there. Now, the first thing we're going to do when we're creating our BACS run is enter a code or a unique kind of title. So what we're going to do is start off in this box up here where the cursor is currently flashing. Now, if I'm doing a BACS run, I'm going to call it BAC as an initial reference, because I might also do like checks or direct debit runs, etc. So I'm going to do BAC at the top there. Now, the next thing PSF recommends as a best practice is use a date format after that. Now, we always say to put it in the American format rather than the British format. And the reason being is because that list that is down the side here on my screen currently, so these are all the runs I've done previously, that's listed in alphabetical order and not numeric. So if I put it in the American format, which would, if we're doing it today, 21st of December 2018, we would put 18, 12, 21 on there. Now, that would mean all the 2018s are together at the top, and then all the 2019s will be next, and 2020s, etc. If we were to put it in the British format, then that would show all the 21sts together for every month, for every year, all the 22nds for every month, for every year, 23rds, etc. So it wouldn't appear in kind of a logical order. So we're going to put the date format like that, so 18, 12, 21, and then if you wanted to, now I could leave this if I was doing a multi-location BACS run from a whole trust. Or if you are doing a single location, you can also put in perhaps your location code at the end, so you know that it's your school that's done that run. We also need a title, so it's going to say BACS run 21st of December. Now the due date underneath, you can also populate if you want to, it's not a required field. So the due date can be today's date, 21st of December 2018. Now what that would do is go through all your suppliers, all your staff members, and pull through any invoice that is due today according to the payment terms of that account. Now if I leave that blank, the system will just pull through any invoice that's posted in the system that's outstanding, regardless of those payment terms and due dates. So I'm going to leave it blank for this purpose. I'm also going to leave the currency blank just to pick up everything, but some of our commercial entities will use that if they've got dollars or kind of euros, etc. Underneath, we've also got media fields. So this is where I'm going to choose BACS only, but you could also choose like checks, for example. But we're doing a BACS run. And we're just going to click on add on the side, and that will create our reference. So that is basically step 1. Step 2 is to choose our suppliers. And we do that by clicking on this accounts button on the side here. Okay, and what happens is a list will come up with kind of a filter list to say who do you want to choose. And typically it'll be set to this. So it's kind of a blank screen. Now if you are a multi-academy location, like my system is set up for, then if you're just doing it for your own school, on this nominal selection, you might put LLL 9500, which is my location, to LLL 9500 on there, and that will just pull up my suppliers for my school. I might put both suppliers and staff members on the same run. So I might do 9500 to 9560. On there, that's the staff expense control nominal code. And I'll pull through suppliers and my staff expenses. Now, if I'm a multi-academy trust and I want to pull through all my suppliers from all my locations, I might say 9500, so LL 9500 to my last school of TES 9500. Now, when I press OK, what tends to happen is I will get these intercompany balances in between. And we don't particularly want those, so we would highlight them like I have done on screen. I would go into a payment list menu at the top, click confirm, or I can use the F5 key on my keyboard and just remove those ones out. Let's get rid of the zero balances as well. Now, that's all well and good. But however, if you don't want to do that on a weekly basis or monthly basis, depending how often you do your payment runs, there is another option you can use. So I'm just going to delete that run off. I'm just going to quickly create a new one on here, 18, 12, 21, 88. So rather than grouping it by account code at the top here, we can actually group it by core nominal code instead. And what this does is ignores the location code at the front and just purely focuses on the 4-digit numbers. So on the analysis code here, I'm just going to enter 9500 to 9500. Now I can also just drop that down to this there and pick it up that way. So that means when I press OK now, what the system is going to do is just purely pick up my suppliers and ignore those intercompany balances in between, so I don't have to mess around with those every time. I'm just going to remove all these zeros out. Just press F5 on my keyboard, go to payment list, confirm. So now I have a couple of suppliers here to pay. Now at this point, there's a couple of different routes some of our customers use. Some will create the file, so we'll continue and upload it into the bank, whereas others will create a report that needs to be signed off first for their head teachers to sign off, or maybe for their director of finance to sign off to say, yep, happy for these to be paid. So we're going to create this report first before we upload anything to the bank. And we're going to do that by going into our reporting suite. So if we go into modules on V6 to reporting suite, other versions, version 2 and 4, will appear in different menus. So I'm just going to open up my reporting suite. And on this reporting suite, there's a nice little report here called a paylist report. And this paylist report will basically list all our suppliers and the invoices that make up those balances. So just on your general reports, just down here in the middle is our paylist. I'm just going to click on that. Now I can also do this individually. So that payment run I have created here could be across all my 3 locations. I'm just going to do one central payment run. But I might want each school's head teacher to sign off to say I'm happy for those suppliers to be paid. So I could just run a payment list report for each of my locations and send it off, say please return this signed. I also choose my paylist, so that's the one I've just created. Include payment documents, I can say yes or no on that as well. Now, if you include payment documents, I will come back to this a bit later, but this is basically saying if I say yes, then it will include the BACS post documents as well. In this instance, it doesn't really matter because we haven't actually posted anything to the system yet. So I'm just going to say OK to run that. Picked up the wrong one. Okay, so press OK to that, and there's all my suppliers and the people that I'm going to be paying. Okay. So this is a good report. Then I can give this to my head teacher or my director of finance, get them to sign it off, date it, and send it back. So I can either do that by printing it out or by downloading it to PDF, etc. Now they might come back and they might scribble all over it, might say, oh, don't pay this supplier, or don't pay these invoices. In which case, at this point, I can go back to my payment run and just amend those totals, just by double-clicking on the account, perhaps, removing invoices out. Okay. If you are in the account, you can't press F5 on the keyboard, the payment list menu does move. It's now in the Alloc account menu. I can still confirm it that way. Okay, but once I'm happy with that, it matches the signatory that's been sent back by my Director of Finance, I can now progress this to the bank. Now, on version 6 and later models version 4, we now use something called Media Exporter at this stage. So, after the account stage, once I've chosen my suppliers, I can now go into my modules in V6 and select Media Exporter. Version 4 has it under the Options menu, whereas version 2, you go into your payment list and media, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So, Media Exporter for version 6 onwards. So from our pay list, we just pick up the run we just created. We choose our format file. So that's HSBC, or it could be Barclays, it could be Lloyds, etc. And pick up the bank that this is going to be paid out of. So this might be my central bank account, or it might be the bank account for this particular school. Okay, we can also change the processing date as well, and all the execution dates. If you want to come out of your bank a couple of days later, you can change those dates there. So I'm just going to click on Process, and this will generate the file necessary for the bank, and it'll put it into my network drive, ready for me to upload. So in this instance, we wouldn't progress the BACS run any further, so PSF don't recommend you do that. Some people do. They'll get to the posting stage, post it, then upload to the bank. I mean, you're certainly welcome to do so, but PSF don't recommend it. The reason being is that the bank could reject a line or the whole thing based on incorrect sort code data, account data, etc. So we just say upload it to the bank first before progressing any further into PSF. So I'm actually going to skip that stage because I don't want to be showing you our bank account, but for security reasons. But for now, let's imagine it's gone to the bank, it's uploaded successfully, and we can come back into PSF and progress this payment run. Now, if you're on version 2, what you need to do is you need to go into your payment list. You've created your account, and you just follow this down. So your next step would be media. You say generate output to BACS, and you press OK. Now I'm just going on the remittances as well at this stage. If you don't have our emailing suite or remittance emailer, which are brought modules separately, you can also do output to printer and just print off your BACS remittance form from here if you don't have remittance emailer. But for version 2 customers, you tick output to BACS, you press OK, choose your bank account, and press OK again. Still generates that file, and that file you'll upload to the bank in exactly the same way. So once you're satisfied the bank have accepted the file, we can progress this. So we can go into payment list at the top here, into our document numbers. And the first thing to do is to assign a document type. So we always recommend this B1 document, which stands for BACS payment. If you're on older version 2, it's just called BACS for BACS. It'll automatically assign a number to it, so you don't need to do anything with that. You can press next, next, next. But I'm just going to press OK and let it sequence it all the way down for me. We can go back into our payment list. Now you can see confirm and update numbers has become available. So basically, we're just going to lock these numbers in. Now it's more useful if you're doing a check run where you're perhaps doing the manual check and you've written out the details wrong, perhaps, and need to cancel off that check. So you might need to amend the document numbers, but it should be all fine. So we just confirm and update those numbers. So they're now locked in. And the last stage, we can go back into our payment list and post. The system will then ask us to choose a bank nominal to post this to. Now, there are some trusts out there that will post it to the bank nominal code, which is 9400, and that's perfectly fine. What the system will do, however, is post it directly into the cash book as each and every individual item. So that means when you come to reconcile your bank account, you'll have your statement that says £2,300 in this instance. But on your cash book side, you'll have each of these different individual entries. So you just got to add them up and make sure they all balance when you're reconciling. So what PSF actually recommend is post it to a nominal called 9430, which is our payment run clearing account. And what the system will do is post all those individual entries into the payment run clearing account and reverse it back to PSF cash book, so back to the 9400 code, as one entry. So when it comes to your reconciliation, just matching one on one, and it's nice and simple and it's nice and clean. Document date, you can change that to say today and period today, etc. We can change it. And post to, you always want to make sure it's books and allocate. You don't want that to be anything else. Always books and allocate. Even on version 2, that usually says validate, I think, if I remember. So you just want to change it to say books and allocate. I'm going to press OK to that box. And this will give me a message to say everything's posted successfully. And I can see all the different documents and everything has been updated. So that's now the payment run complete. It's been sent through our bank account and suppliers have been paid. But we need to send them something to notify them that they have been paid. So we're going to send out some remittances as well to go alongside this. So this is what I was saying before. If you don't have our document emailer or remittance emailer products, you will need to print those off by the option I showed earlier under that media payment list and media option. If you do have those modules, so we can go into our modules on V6 or options menu for V4 and choose our remittance emailer. This will open up a separate application. Here we go. And it's quite simple to use. So Paylist is where we choose our BACS run that we've created. We don't need to change anything with the type or the status. That's only if we're filtering even further down. But I want to send everything on that Paylist, so I'm just going to click on search, and there it is. There's my two suppliers, so Collins Education and Espo. And what's quite good, they both have email addresses, and if I hover over them, I can see their email address. However, you might find the odd supplier that doesn't have an email address from the list. So there's no envelope icon here, for example. But you can update the supplier's information directly from here, and this will update the master record on your purchase ledger as well. So you don't have to do it in two different places. So what I can do is I can just double click where the envelope should be, put in the email address, so if I just say collins@finance.com, click on update. Now that updates the master record in PS Financials Accounting, purchase ledger, and here as well. So then I can just tick all those boxes and email those out by clicking on the old American mailbox symbol and sending it through my email relay internally. And mine will fail because these are just test documents. We don't want them going out to those suppliers. But they're now sent out, and the status box here will be updated to say emailed and emailed on that one. If you didn't have an email address for that supplier, they don't have email systems for whatever reason, you can just choose the ones that you do want to email, and you can actually just use the filters here to say ones that have an email address or no email. So I could email that one, and this one I can just print it out and send for the post, or I can fax it, etc. If you do print it out, then the status here will say printed, and this one would say emailed. You can also view the documents before they go to your suppliers, and you can do that simply by right-clicking and preview the report. And that will just open up to show you what it will look like before it goes out. So you can just check that your logo is okay, details are okay, etc. There's no misalignments. There you go, so that's all you need to do. So click search for your pay list, tick the boxes, email or print as necessary. And that's the BACS run from start to end. So just to recap, so we just click on a stack of cold coins at the top there. We create our pay list reference at the top. So that's just a PSF recommended practice to use a date format there. You can obviously just call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you wanted to. And then just go through the process of choosing your suppliers, upload it to the bank, and then post all your remittances and post the BACS run. So that's if everything goes through nice and smoothly. Now, if it doesn't go through smoothly, if the supplier or the bank account, has rejected your BACS run due to an incorrect sort code, incorrect account details, etc., and you have posted the document, you'll going to need to amend that particular record and cancel off that BACS document in PSF. So let's do that for our Collins Education supplier. So first off, I'm going to go into that supplier's record. So I'm just going to go into my purchase ledger. On here, and I'm going to pick up Collins Education. So I'm just going to search at the top. I'm going to scroll through. Yeah, there it is. So on my payment information tab, I might have got the sort code wrong here, so I can just quickly update that if I've got the access to do so. And I can go on my details tab. So I know this BACS run I sent off, that 1680, has been rejected, so I need to resend this particular invoice. So what I can do, I can just double click in that area and open this all out into an account inquiry. So I'm going to cancel this BACS run. I'm going to reassign the invoice to be paid on a different BACS run. So the first thing I'm going to do is unallocate the two documents together. So on this little black arrow, I'm just going to right click and first off undo the allocation. So that puts the invoice back for basically saying it's outstanding again. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to cancel off this particular BACS run, this BACS document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on that document and just drill down into that document inquiry so I can see all the postings there. Now I'm going to reverse this document off, so I'm going to first off right click on this little black arrow and I'm just going to copy the document. So just to pick it up as it stands, but the one thing to remember and the important thing to remember is to tick this box called reverse values. If you don't do that, all that happens is you will duplicate the document. Now what we want to do is take these postings and just reverse it off. So reverse values down is ticked. Document type I'm just going to choose as the BACS document. You can post it as a journal if you wanted to, it's entirely up to you. And I can also make sure that the date and the period is the same as this one, if I wanted to as well. And so press OK. And there's my journal on screen. That just says it's a reversal of this document. Now, if you had forgot to tick reverse values, it's not the end of the world at this stage. I can just put a minus in this box down here and take the minus out of that one up there. And that would do basically the same thing and flip it round. But I did remember that box, so I'm fine with that. I can go into Post UDI or press F5, just post that document into the system. Okay, so that's now reversed out. So I can close this document inquiry out. Now I can allocate that reversal to this BACS document to tidy up this supplier's account. So first off, I'm just going to refresh this screen so it pulls through that new document. I click on these little two blue arrows going around in an anti-clockwise direction. So you can probably see there that the account record updated with this new document, the reversal. And I'm just going to allocate them together. So I can go into allocation, click on allocating, switch it on. I can also right click on the document, select allocate in that way. And I can just allocate the two documents together. I should get 0 balance down the corner here and confirm it's available as well. So I can click on that and then I'll allocate it, cleared off, and the 1680 is left to pay on another BACS run. So hopefully that gives you some indication of how to amend documents if the BACS run was rejected for whatever reason. So that was just a quick overview on our BACS documents, how you can use those filters for different purposes. So just to recap, so we created our BACS run through this particular route. And you can also use the filter in many different ways. A lot of people don't realize on those filters actually that you can certainly filter by different routes. So you can filter by your multi-category trust accounts, values. There's a whole host of different ways. If I just create one quickly to show you, in a bit more detail. So you could also search by, not just by core nominal, but you can also search by location if you wanted to. You could also search for the account code as before, so this is the standard one it shows. And you can also search by supplier accounts individually. So if you just want to do one supplier, so that Collins Education one that we need to repay, I can just do it exactly the same way and just pick up their record individually by choosing the purchase ledger and choosing Collins Education from here. So you can also use those filters that way. You could use periods, perhaps, if you just want to pick up all documents for period 1, etc. So there's a whole host of different ways to do it. You can also pick up different values as well. So if you click on all values, it's kind of just saying pick up everything. But if you saw from my record when I did my BACS run earlier, it does pull through a lot of zeros because I haven't allocated documents together. So on there, I could also just say ignore the zeros, just pick up all the credit balances on my account records. And that way it'll just ignore those zero balances for next time. I do like to show them because that way I can remind myself to go back and allocate those documents. So that's quite useful. But there's a lot of options there on that BACS payment screen. So we are looking to do these webinars every couple of weeks or so on different topics. So I hope you found this one quite useful. If you've got your own ideas for different webinars or certain topics you'd like to discuss or for PSF to show, it's best if you either email them to us. So you can certainly email me directly at andrew.fink, that's F-I-N-C-K, at psfinancials.com. Or if you want to post them on our user forum, we do like people to post on our community page. And you can certainly post them then. We also advertise our new webinars on that page as well. If you're not a member of our user forum, we do recommend you sign up. And the website I'm just going to put on screen now, which is www.psfeducationusers.com. And if you just go onto that website, you can register and you'll be able to see different posts people are posting, different discussions, updates of PSF posts as well. It's a really good place on there to keep updated. So yes, so certainly look out for more webinars in future. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching this brief demo, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.